we take a look at the other side of the Mediterranean, what do we see? We see a huge shortage in training institutions, academic institutions that teach the arts, in a region, the whole Arab region, not just the Mediterranean region, which includes even the very wealthy Gulf. In a region of 300 million people, you have a handful of schools that teach theater, for example. Very few conservatories, like I think the total count is 6 conservatories in the whole region, music conservatories. No cultural management training schools whatsoever, I think. And a few visual arts training centers and colleges, but all of these are very poorly staffed and equipped, and are remaining of things that were started in the early 20th century and the late 19th century and have not been developed since that time. You also have, we also have a legal and legislative and political environment which is very hostile to the arts and very oppressive. So we have censorship laws, we have laws that prohibit association or at least cripple it. It's not easy to form an artistic group of any kind under the laws of countries in the region. And in most cases, in many countries, for example in Syria and Algeria, the cultural activity is completely monopolized by state organizations, which are highly politicized and are annexed to the ruling party or the ruling family or regime. Public funding for the arts in the whole region is tightly controlled by states and is used to co-opt artists and cultural groups and deprive those who do not conform to systems and political ideas promoted by the regimes. So you see, there is not just an imbalance, but I think a huge gap in the infrastructure. This disparity in the infrastructure is no small thing. It has a direct effect on cross-cultural projects, because when the EU or even a private foundation in Europe launches a project that involves a partner, a so-called partner from the southern Mediterranean, this partner does not have the physical capacity to cope with what's demanded, what's expected of them, and the environment they work in is not ready even to accept what's offered or to support this kind of collaboration. So people, partners in the southern Mediterranean struggle to meet the demands, to meet the expectations coming from the north, and this kind of pressure, I think on the long term, or the medium term, leads to crippling the growth of these organizations. For example, an organization like ours, which started 5 years ago, if we were to respond to calls for partnership from Europe and engage in huge European Union projects that amount to hundreds of thousands of euros in funding, we cannot really grow in an organic way to become really a healthy and stable organization, because we'll be sort of fighting every day to deliver, to produce what's expected of us, and not pay attention to expanding our constituency locally and regionally, or to train our staff, or to even equip our office and facilities. Another deeper concern, another element of imbalance in this relationship that is evident in that most cross-Mediterranean cultural projects, and certainly in the EU published literature, there is no mention of the history of relationship between the two shores of the Mediterranean. If you read through the website of the EU, especially in culture, you believe that this relationship started with the Barcelona process and has not existed before that time. It's really a very telling phenomenon. There is the occasional reference to Andalusia in Spain as a metaphor of religious tolerance and cultural prosperity, but other than that, there is very little or no mention at all of the colonial history of this relationship. Ignoring the feelings of mistrust and skepticism that resulted from the colonial period does not eliminate such feelings. It only feeds them. It only feeds them and supports conspiracy theories that say that Europe is spending all this money only to make us forget its colonial behavior. Or Europe is spending all this money to impose another kind of colonialization, another kind of imperialism, cultural imperialism. The colonial past is something that we share. You and us share. It's our common past. And we need to remember, analyze, critique, and use this past creatively and positively. I believe that understanding our common past would offer opportunities to work creatively together and would provide us in Arab countries an opportunity to contribute to the European conscience in a meaningful way. We cannot change the past, but we cannot just forget it. The smart thing to do is to understand it and to learn from it. This past is probably the strongest link, the strongest bond that binds us together. It's certainly stronger than the geographic proximity, and it is definitely stronger than partnership agreements. Understanding the past and acknowledging it is the first step, is the first stone towards building trust. One of the deepest scars in the Arab psyche today is the one caused by the European colonization of most of the region and the resulting political division of the region and what it entailed in terms of conflict that remains until today and turmoil. We as Arabs have not been able to rise above this period. The result this had on the Arab psyche today, and certainly very visible among the intellectual production in the region, in writings, in films, in every way, is self-disappointment. We are disappointed in ourselves, but also, on the other hand, in mistrust in Europe. I referred in the statement that I published in the Another Gaze publication, the European Cultural Foundation publication. I referred to the fact that most of the initiatives to work across the Mediterranean come from Europe, rather than from our side. Always the call to work together comes from the north. Very, very rarely, if any at all, you find somebody in Morocco or Egypt or Lebanon initiating a project that goes from the south towards Europe. It's a sad fact that we in the southern Mediterranean are not initiating cultural projects with Europe. We are not even good at responding to such initiatives when they happen. We respond very slowly and in a very inapt way. But how can we do that if we lack the most basic physical tools, practical tools to respond? And more importantly, lack the necessary trust in our partners and the confidence in ourselves. Thank you.